guys, Zach here coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends, sending some positive vibes your way, especially if you need them out there today. Today we have a Summon Rush actually kicking off tomorrow. That's Friday, July 3rd, as part of the Hagaba the Nestmade fusion, which is a very important fusion for a lot of folks out there. Some players are going for Hagaba, some are sitting this out. A lot, I think the majority of my audience are actually using fusion tokens, which makes us a very important fusion because this might not be Hagaba for you. This might be Newt. It might be Wixwell, it might be Titus, it might be Fabian, it might be somebody else, right, that you've always wanted on your account. So I look at this a little bit differently. I've seen around 3 or 4 videos recommending players do not summon during this event, and honestly, to each their own, right? Obviously, right? I'm not sitting here and saying that it is the right move to go for it on every single account out there in terms of this event. However, I am going to say that I would recommend, especially if you're going for one of those game changers, that you do not skip this event only because of my own personal experience, and that's all we have ultimately at the end of the day, right? I've missed out on a couple fusions by skipping early events in the past. Namely, I missed out on Mad Hatter and I missed out on Thor. 2 fusions that I really wish I had my hands on back in the day. I subsequently am lucky enough to have pulled them, but I opened a hell of a lot of shards. So, you know, some of them, or I think Thor, I pulled very recently. As a matter of fact, he's impressed the hell out of me. I knew he'd be good. Didn't know he'd be this good. I just got finished recording a video for probably early next week or maybe this weekend on how amazing Thor is, even on my account, endgame account. I say all that to say, yes, I skipped early events, champion chase events specifically, and I ended up missing out on the fusion because life got busy and I missed other events that I intended to go after subsequently. So that's just my experience. If you are going for a very important fusion, you might want to consider pulling here. Of course, ultimately, obviously, it's your decision, right? All right, so who do we have here? Full and Silverheart already available from the previous fusion. Already available here on this 15x typical progressive chance event, right? Again, this is Friday, July 3rd, coinciding with the event, or third. Kebron the Underflame. We'll talk about all these champions in a moment. Venalicia, Thrallmother, Packmaster Shyak, Roxam, Classic Key Hulk, Rio Bone Spear, Gurgur the Augur. And then we have Venomage, Deacon Armstrong, Ugo, Aboro, and Madame Ceres. So, you know, even if you're not keen on getting any of these legendaries or pulling on a progressive chance event, which you're very unlikely to actually get your hands on a legendary to begin with, 0.5% chance out of obviously Void and Ancient Shards, you may want to go for this roster of epics, right? I mean, Madame Ceres, Aboro, the 2 Voids, I think are solid, but definitely not endgame, capable, in my opinion, Again, both of them are solid. They're not awful, but I don't think Madame Ceres is as good as she used to be, obviously, in the Mercurial meta. And in PvE, she has a 4-turn cooldown on her strongest move, which is her Midnight Ritual, her A3 ability. That being said, I like Madame Ceres, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't pull Voids is what I'm trying to say. It's a 4-turn cooldown, decrease attack, decrease defense. It's still a nice move with buff removal, don't get me wrong again, but I think that I would pull non-Voids because Deacon Armstrong, if you don't have him, is absolutely fantastic. Golly, I really wish I had this dude on my free-to-play account, especially the extra turn, the decreased defense. He does a lot in 1 turn, a really fast cycle and speed in all battles. So yeah, man, Deacon is amazing. I love Ugo and I love Venomage. They give these champions out for free, honestly, to new accounts. So I do have Ugo. I don't have Venomage on my free-to-play. Ugo is just one of my favorite champions. Decreased defense, block buffs, and support, heals, you name it. Leech on the A1, she's got it, right? And then Venomage, fantastic champion as well. Just great clan boss, poison activation, placement, beautiful synergy, as well as heal reduction and a strong 3-turn heal reduction on a 3-turn cooldown, and a nifty passive with damage mitigation. So I would absolutely go for Venomage, Deacon Armstrong, or Ugo. Just depends on what you need. I think that Deke in a vacuum is probably the best of the 3, but Ugo's very, very close, and honestly, for different reasons, Venomage is too. TLDR, all of the epics are super solid, right? Full in, I didn't hate Folan, but I didn't love Folan either, so he wouldn't be my choice. I don't think I need to go more in depth. I did put out a guide on Folan where I shared my grade on him. I want to say it was a B. And, overall, not an awful champion, but I don't think he's the most powerful. I don't think he's the guy I would go for, especially compared to the rest here. Kebron the Underflame. Now, I pulled him on my account, got very lucky, and I really like this dude, actually. That being said, he is a PV, even though he has Death Brand, which I would love to do. I would love to use this guy in the arena, seeing that he has Death Brand and Ignore Unkillable and Shield, instant activation potential as well. Like, I really love even the increased accuracy, right? I love what he does, but he's just not viable in PvE, in the end game, of course. But he can be a very capable damage dealer in PvE content. I really like this dude. He's really solid. That being said, I don't think he's an S-tier champion, but I like him better than Folan. Venalicia Thrall Mother. Oof. Now, this is probably, depending, we'll talk about Shyak in a second, but in a vacuum here, I would go for Venalicia. I think that she is criminally underrated. I think she is an A+ tier reviver in the game. She's very, very unique and very strong, okay? 108 base speed, very fast, very tanky, all the things we want in a reviver, but she's a very unorthodox reviver. She's got a triple hitter with a big version of Weaken on her A1. She's got buff removal before attacking, and block buffs, and decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. Very valuable to come from your reviver. Her revive is also unique. 50-50 turn meter HP, 75-75 if everybody's dead except for her. But she's also decreasing the cooldowns of all revived ally skills on a 4-turn cooldown and increasing the cooldown of all enemy skills by 2 turns. What a cool Mother Knows Best revive. Very unique. No other champion has a revive like that. And then Warped Malevolence is her very, very good passive. Fills this champion's turn meter by 20% whenever an ally dies. That's very close to a timely intervention built-in mastery with no cooldown on her passive. Very nice on a reviver. Heals this champion by 20% of their max HP whenever they are attacked by an enemy under Pain Link. How do they get the Pain Link? Well, she's one of the, 5 champions in the game or so that has Pain Link. Plays a Pain Link for 2 turns on enemies who deal damage equal to 25% or more of any ally's max HP with a single skill. That's it. That's really strong condition to dish out a bunch of Pain Links, right? So there's a lot to like in this kit. Even in Chimera, you have a Pain Link champion right there. Hard to get Gizmax and the other Pain Linkers. So I think that Venalicia Thrall Mother is fantastic. Packmaster Shyak. Now listen, if you found yourself in the situation where you have Crocad, or you're going for Crocad in the fusion tokens, and you don't have Packmaster Shyak would be my choice. He would be the dude. I mean, imagine using a fusion token for Crocad and landing a Packmaster. Now, that's a big gamble, and I would not count on it, but these two together are the most lethal tandem in the damn game. I mean, maybe not the most, Solinar and Nodula and whatnot, but in terms of like Hydra, there's no dynamic duo other than maybe Yumeko Trunda or Titus Wixwell, right? They're right there. They're right there. That's how good these two are together. You get all these auto attacks from Crocad. Honestly, and then, hey, if they add more hounds to the game, Packmaster Shyak, like who knows, right? In the future, he'll be even more valuable. He's got great base stats. I mean, just so much to love. Speed in all battles on the aura. I never really appreciated Packmaster Shyak until they introduced Crocad. And I mean, I'm sure a lot of players, for good reason, right? And now I love him. I love that he has this shield, taunt, reflect damage ability too, right? With a cleanse on himself and a big heal. I mean, but most of all, it's the synergy with Crocad. So many extra attacks, just insane damage. They're one of the strongest champion tandems in the game. So if you don't have, if you have, again, Crocad but not Packmaster, I would go for Packmaster over all these champions. Roxam actually received a really good buff, honestly. That being said, he's not like S tier level buff, right? He went from, I think, a D to maybe a B minus, you know? This is a really cool passive, though. Plays a block debuffs, increase attack on this champion for 1 turn, and a continuous veil for 2 turns whenever they receive a veil or perfect veil. Plays a protected perfect veil on this champion for 1 turn whenever an enemy receives a buff. Well, that is an easy condition So we get protected perfect veils all over the place, and his kit makes a lot more sense now that they added that. That being said, I don't see him as a true game changer, thus he would not be my pick. If I had to power rank these in a vacuum, every account is different, I would go Venalicia, Thrall Mother, Packmaster Shyak, Kebron the Underflame, Folin Silverheart, and Roxam. I could understand why some people would go Folin maybe a little bit higher on the list too, especially if you need that block passive skills champion on your account. Classic, Rio, and Gergo. If I had to power rank these really quick, Classic, Rio, Gergo. That being said, I love Rio Bone Spear. In Classic Key Hulk, I think he's just one of the strongest voids in the game, honestly. That being said, Rio is really good too. I think they're both, you know, in PvE, they're both S-tier champions. So you really can't go wrong depending on what you need. I've said it a million times before, but my favorite champion, I think, in the whole game to put in 9-piece Feral, is Rio Bone Spear, because she has all these debuffs, just perfect against bosses. I use her against Phantom Shogun and Sand Devil. Just brilliant move here, right? And the cleanse, and the heal, and the block debuffs on the 3-turn cooldown. Fantastic champion. But if I had to choose between the two, I'd actually go with Classic. And again, I'm a huge Rio fan, but I think he's one of the strongest champions in the game for PvE content, right? Chimera, I mean, anywhere in the game. Chimera, Hydra, Wave content, Grim Forest, you name it. This dude's a beast. AoE, decreased defense, weaken, decreased accuracy, decreased resistance. I use them on my Chimera teams. Void Affinity, obviously. Counterattack, unkillable on everybody. And then a taunt on himself as well. If the boss is in the round, everything is protected. Oh, brilliant. Beautiful. And then Drone of Agony. Whenever this champion places a debuff on an enemy, deals 1% max HP damage as well. For each debuff, they're currently under, up to 10%. So we can really dish out a lot of damage with the Drone of Agony passive, man. This guy and the True Fear on the A1, again, Chimera beast, but a beast everywhere. This guy is built different. So Classic would be my choice maybe if I was close to Mercy and I knew it, maybe I would be inclined to pull a little bit for Classic. But anyway, guys, I would recommend you pull, again, if you are going for a champion that you absolutely want in this fusion. Of course, ultimately do what you think is best for your account. Thank you so much for watching. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.